Hello everybody, welcome to another Nathan Talks game review. And this week, we're going to review this one, Sheriff of Nottingham. This is Sheriff of Nottingham. It's a game of deception for 2 to 5 players. In this game, the players play as merchants, trying to get goods in and out of Nottingham. However, times are tough, and they can't just move legal goods. No, these merchants are going to have to move a little bit of contraband. But do they have the deception skills they need? Let's find out. Come to the table. So, here's what the game looks like when set up for 4 players. You'll see each player has a hand of cards. Each player starts with 6 cards from the main deck. Each player has a character card. These are the same on both sides. The character card has some artwork, but it also has places for you to put piles of your cards and a list with the turn order. So that's a very useful reference when you're playing this game, because you will be taught all the elements of the turn order when you learn the game, as I'm about to do just now. And then this will remind you what order they happen in. So it's good. Each player starts with a pile of money that they can spend mostly on bribes, actually. But I'll get to that in a second. And a bag. This is your merchant bag, and it represents the goods you are trying to get into Nottingham. So choose one player, and they will start with this token. This is the Sheriff token. They have a special role during the round, which will become apparent in a minute. So the game turns are split into 5 phases. First, the market phase. During the market phase, the player will look at their hand of 6 cards. They can discard any number of cards they want by placing them aside like this. Then they may draw until they have 6 cards from either the draw pile or either one of the 2 discard piles. So you set aside your card, then you draw the one you want instead, put it into your hand, then discard this one. You don't need to discard into the same pile you got cards from, but you may. And then this will go around. The last player to do their market phase is the current sheriff, the current player with the sheriff token. Next is the load market bag phase. So you open up your bag, and then you put in cards. Note that when you load your market bag, in the next phase, you will need to declare what is in there. All right? When you declare, you have to declare that all the goods in your bag are one of the 4 legal goods. The 4 legal goods in this game are apples, cheese, bread, and chickens. So you have to choose one of those legal goods and then load it into the bag, and you have to declare that they're all the same legal good. Now, you do not have to be telling the truth, but you do need to declare that at some point in the game. Here's 3 breads. The legal goods are all green on the cards to help you know that they're legal. There are red cards with pictures of bread. These are varieties of bread that are illegal in Nottingham because they are a bit stuck up about such things. And then you close the bag and you snap it up. This bag, the snap has come detached from the bag. That was just a personal error. On most of them, the snap is attached like this. but you snap it closed when you have all the goods you need in there. So each player will load their bags and will hand them to the sheriff. They're now one of our players. Oh, I did not shuffle these well. I'm going to get a new hand for our yellow player. There we go. One of our players is going to be a bit naughty and is going to try to put a red card in their bag. The red cards represent contraband. These goods are not legal. So this player, the yellow player, puts 2 bread and the mead, which is illegal, in their bag. And the green player just put another legal good in their bag. 3 bread again. So then, once all the players have loaded their bags, they hand them to the sheriff. The blue player is the sheriff right now, so their bag is still empty because they do not load a bag to send to themselves. So then the sheriff inspects all the bags. With each bag, the sheriff has a choice to open it and check to see if there's contraband or to let it go through. Now, if the sheriff opens a bag, for example, our red bag, opens it, and it is what the player declared it was. The player put 3 bread in, declared 3 bread, and then there was indeed 3 bread in the bag. This little red number at the bottom is the penalty. So you add all these red numbers together, and then the sheriff has to pay that many coins to the player. In this case, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So the sheriff pays the red player for their trouble. It's basically, I checked you when there was no reason to suspect you of anything. Then these cards go into the appropriate point pile detailed on your character card. So the sheriff sees his green bag, and this player declared 3 bread. And he's like, that didn't work too well for me before, so he might let the player go. He lets the player go, and then he gets all the goods in his bag. If there would have been contraband in the green bag, and the sheriff would have let him go, then he would have put the contraband in his contraband pile. But the green player actually was telling the truth. So this last bag, if you'll remember a minute ago, the yellow player put some contraband in here. What the yellow player is allowed to do is bribe the sheriff from his money pile. So the yellow player might say, I'll give you 2 coins to not check the bag. The sheriff could accept the bribe, take the money, let him go, or not, give the money back and open the bag. This player declared that there was 3 bread, and there's 2 bread and a mead. The cards that the player declared rightly go back to them. However, the player, since they did indeed break the law, must pay the sheriff equal to the red penalty fines on the contraband. So this player needs to pay the sheriff 4 coins. And this contraband goes into a discard pile of the sheriff's choice. After all the bags have either been inspected or let into the city, the sheriff token passed to the next player, and then the turns continue. Turns continue like this until every player has been the sheriff twice. In a 3-player game, it ends when everyone has been the sheriff 3 times. And that is how you play Sheriff of Nottingham. At the end of the game, the way you score is you take the gold numbers of all your cards and add them together, plus the amount of actual coins you have. However, at the end of the game, there is a way to earn bonus coins. At the end of the game, before you count up your coins, each legal good has a gold and silver prize. The gold prize is for the player who moved the most of that legal good. And the silver prize is for the player who moved the second most. And those are on the player cards. So for apples over here, the gold prize is 20 coins and the silver prize is 10 coins. So everyone counts their apples. Whoever has the most apples will get 20 coins from the bank. Whoever has the second most will get 10 coins from the bank. If two players tie for first, they split the total number of coins. So if two players tied for apples, you would add the gold and silver prize together and then divide it between the two of them, dropping the remainder. Because for cheese, that comes out to be an odd number, so each player gets 12, and then one just goes to the bank. But for apples, it comes out to a nice even 30. So if two players tie for first, then you split it evenly. If one player has more and another has less, then you just do it as it says. After you've done this for all 4 legal goods, then you count up the points on cards. So the gold number in the top corner, that is how much money the card gives you at the end of the game for points. So legal goods are going to be 2, 3, or 4. But contraband is, on average, contraband is always much higher. So this contraband has a 7 on it. There are contrabands that go up to 9 coins, whereas legal goods can only go up to 4. So knowing how the scoring works is really what should aim your strategy. You might want to get as many legal goods as possible to try and get the gold and silver prizes. However, some players might not want to deal with that, and they will just get a bunch of contraband through. However, if you notice contraband is part of somebody's strategy, then when you're the sheriff, you can keep opening their bags and sending all their contraband to the discard pile. So the game isn't very complicated, however, the strategy is very, very complicated. All right, so we're going to head over to the shelf, and I'm going to give my review and rating of Sheriff of Nottingham. And that was Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriff of Nottingham is a good game. I really enjoy it. It's got a lot of meat to it. You really have to set aside a full hour to play this game, because you need to let players take their time to talk through what they're doing, because the big part of this game is deception and bluffing. If you are telling the truth about what you load your bag with, then you have motivation for the sheriff to think you're lying. However, if you are lying, then you have motivation to make the sheriff think you're telling the truth. So there's bluffing in every single turn. And then as the sheriff, you have the very fun job of reading everybody's face and then making the ultimate decision of whether to open the bag or not. Also, I think it's really neat that the actual rule for whether you've checked a bag is when the snap unsnaps. So it's really dramatic like that. One thing about the snapping bags, Make sure to open your bag really close to the snap. I'm going to go grab the bag in a second. Just a little tip about these bags that I've learned. When you open the bag, grab it close to the snap in the center, and then also grab it down here. If you just like grab it far away from the snap with either hand, you could tear it. You may have seen, I showed it in the other camera, our red bag has tore this way. So make sure your hands are close to the snap when you unsnap it, and it should be good. I found that the rest of the bags have remained very sturdy as long as we open them properly. Put it down. When the sheriff unsnaps the bag, that is when they have opened it. They cannot go back at that point. So that's really fun, because like the sound becomes really dramatic in the table. I give this game a 5 out of 5 stars. It's really, really a fun game. It's complicated, very strategic, but not too complicated. It really has just the right amount of moving parts for me. So that was Sheriff of Nottingham. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment letting me know what game you would like me to review next and what you thought of this one. Subscribe if you want to be notified every time I make a new video. But until then, see you later.